exactly motivates our Saiyans and what keeps them going? Hey guys, MasakoX here, and today we're going to be discussing what exactly motivates the Saiyan race these days. Saiyans in general, when we actually go back in time. And we'll actually discuss whether we can actually apply those values to our own human values as well. We have to keep remembering that despite them being a completely different type of species, they are still humanoid, and if you put them in a crowd and they just did nothing, they would pass as regular human. Could old Toriyama for making an alien race just be completely the same, only with a tail? In a world where a dog is king. A couple of months ago, we decided to have a psychoanalytical episode about discussing the mind of Dragonball, and that was received pretty well. So we thought we'd go back to it, Haverock and I. Now granted, I know that some of you were actually studying psychology at university or college or wherever, and thought we were being a little too basic in our approach, and we were kind of just scratching the surface in terms of actually going into stuff. But we're doing our best with the limited resources that we have, and we appreciate your comments, and we have taken that into consideration. It's a valid critique, and we will build upon it, so thank you very much for coming out. Today we're going to be discussing something that someone brought up in the comments last time, and it just got Haverock and I thinking, and really inspired to talk about it, because it was like, hey, that's a really good point, because this particular type of person or species has changed considerably during the time Dragon Ball has actually been exploring the world. We're talking about today Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But Maslov! No, it just doesn't feel the same. Abraham Harold Maslow was an American psychiatrist who really wanted to delve deep into the health of the human mind, and more specifically about human needs and trying to find a priority with them, which in turn led to the phrase self-actualization. Practically all organismic states are to be understood as motivated and as motivating. Now some of you may recognize this pyramid diagram, which is often associated with the theory of human motivation. The lower priorities at the bottom of the pyramid are very easily fulfilled, and in turn, if they could be stacked on top of each other, can lead to the higher priorities being fulfilled as well. It's like a chain reaction, only with a pyramid. Okay, so let's start off with something small. Something that pretty much every organic being needs to do. Eat. You thought I was going to say something else, weren't you? We know how important eating is to Goku and the Saiyans, really. It's pretty much one of their comedic quirks. And we also know that as a society, Saiyans are relatively basic. Well, I mean, that is until we get the upcoming Broly movie, which is going to be an absolute sea change for our own thinking about how the Saiyans actually interacted. But for the purposes of this discussion, we are going off what we exactly know from all of the stuff going back to the 1980s. But it all means that due to their simple existence, it means they don't really have much of a priority for anything, really. They don't really form big, meaningful relationships, and anything on the reproductive side is mainly geared towards making more fighters. It's not really for just love or compassion or anything like that. No, it's more of a practical thing. Do they get any pleasure out of it? Well, it's hard to say. I'll leave that to the doujinshi department. But I think everyone can really get behind the idea of that really they just want to get more Saiyans out, so that means they can be ready for battle. Another peculiar characteristic of the human organism, when it is dominated by a certain need, is that the whole philosophy of their future tends to change along with the present. For our chronically and extremely hungry man, utopia can be defined very simply as a place where there is plenty of food. He tends to think that if he is guaranteed food for the rest of his life, he will be perfectly happy and will never want anything more. Life itself tends to be defined in terms of eating. Anything else will be defined as unimportant. Freedom, love, community feeling, respect, philosophy may all be waved aside as fripperies, which are useless since they fail to fill the stomach. Such a man may fairly be said to live by bread alone. Saiyans could just be at the bottom. That is, unless you try to go deeper into it. And it can be applied to Goku as well, but we know Goku. He may be quite a relatively bland main character, at least at first, but just saying that all he does is eat is a little too extreme. I know it's a very easy gag for many people going, Goku, all he cares about is food. It's not untrue, but I think there's more to it. We know that there's more to Goku than meets the eye. We know that there is something that he really gets more enjoyment out of. So we can't just do the blanket statement. We gotta go even further. The next step on the pyramid concerns the needs of safety. And that's a very weird thing for Saiyans because honestly, they don't really care about their safety. They don't care about their emotional or financial or personal security. They also tend to overlook their health. The needs of safety is something we tend to associate with the likes of Gohan and Trunks. In fact, Maslow's theory of human motivation could be an excellent idea and a solution as to what exactly differs a human hybrid Saiyan from a full-on Saiyan. Just what specific things are different. Human hybrid Saiyans tend to be much more compassionate and have much more realistic goals, as well as actually thinking about their own safety than full-blooded Saiyans. And you think, okay, now we know exactly what, but there is another oddball in the whole Saiyan race thing, and it isn't Goku this time. It's his brother, Raditz. Raditz is an oddity amongst his own people, and I'm not talking about his specifically unique hairdo. As we've touched upon it in many other discussions in the past, as well as the big what-ifs, Raditz is a very cautious character who doesn't take risks. He's very concerned about his own well-being, but at the same time on screen it could come across as cowardice rather than self-preservation. While we could easily brand him as a big scaredy cat, not worthy of being called a Saiyan, if you put him and a Saiyan in a jungle or something or try to fend for himself, he would easily survive. And that's something he shares with Goku. They are very good survivors. But one thing's for sure, Raditz is far less rash than other Saiyans. Still though, the whole idea with Raditz being atypical to other Saiyans really gives us valuable information concerning Saiyans and safety needs, and can finally give us a solution. So this is what Maslov says. From these and similar observations, we may generalize and say that the average child in our society generally prefers a safe, orderly, predictable, organized world, which he can count on, and in which unexpected, unmanageable, or other dangerous things do not happen, and in which, in any case, he has all-powerful parents who protect and shield him from harm. So unfortunately, Mr. Maslov, your whole idea of safety needs doesn't really work for the whole Saiyan motivation thing. They don't really care about that, and Raditz is the one exception, so sorry, mate. We may be able to theorize that Raditz's insecurities may be due to his upbringing, and that he had to tag along with Vegeta and Nappa, and due to his difference in power meant that it just kind of exacerbated his issues. But for now, we don't have this information, so all of this is just conjecture. What is more relatable for our favorite monkey race is the next level on the pyramid, social belonging. Now, I think this next point has been really said many times, and it sounds like it's becoming a broken record, but it still needs to be said. Goku does value his friends to some degree. You may not think that due to the fact that he likes to waltz off from time to time, but he does come back again, and he does value his friends, and he will fight for them. But he will also fight for himself at the same time. The whole thing about Goku and family and friends was used as the lesson for the Tournament of Power when Goku faced Jiren. And yes, while at the time it didn't feel like a strong enough reason to carry the entire arc, so from a narrative point of view, it wasn't really that good. There is no denying that he does value social belonging and being part of a group. After many years as a child being on his own, he's now come to really embrace the whole idea of having companions. And he is concerned for the safety of his comrades, even though he may not be concerned about the safety of himself. As for the Saiyan society in general, it's kind of hard to say whether they actually have true friendship, as it were. But one thing's for sure, Saiyans aren't loners. They do make the most of having allies in battle. They're like pack hunters, comrades in arms. They don't tend to really lean towards the whole idea of having confidants and true best friends like we do. So okay, with the likes of Vegeta, Nappa and Raditz, we can't really use the term friends for them because they don't really show or exhibit any kind of traits that would consider them friends. But I think there is something that we could say, that there is some kind of solace between them that keeps them together. Because if Saiyans didn't value social belonging, then they wouldn't be together. They'd just go off and do their own thing. The next level on our pyramid is concerning the needs of esteem. And yeah, okay, Vegeta, do I need to even say more? It's quite clear that Vegeta absolutely is desperate to be recognized for his value in the world. He wants to be recognized for his power and as his status as the Prince of all Saiyans, even though most of them have been wiped out. The desire to be lauded and seen as a leader. But unfortunately, the reality is quite clear, as Toppo would put it, that nowadays he's a second fiddle. All people in our society, with a few pathological exceptions, have a need or desire for a stable, firmly based, usually high evaluation of themselves, for self-respect or self-esteem, and for the esteem of others. What we mean by a firmly based self-esteem, we mean that something which is soundly based upon a realistic capacity, achievement, and respect from others. These needs may be classified into two subsidiary sets. These are first, the desire for strength, for achievement, for adequacy, for confidence in the face of the world, and for independence and freedom. All jokes aside though, the whole thing about Saiyan pride is that it's not necessarily wholly pride in the traditional sense. It's all to do with a mixture of pride and self-esteem. You need to have a Saiyan who is highly motivated to be in battle, so that means they will do a good job. If you have a Saiyan that does not have a good high value of self-esteem, then they're gonna not really be worth anything. It's quite clear that most Saiyans are extremely ego-driven. Some are pretty direct about it, Vegeta, and some a little bit more subtle about it, that's the likes of Goku. So yeah, this level checks out wholesale and really gives us a whole new meaning to the term Saiyan pride. Now this next one is the big one. Self-actualization, something I talked about earlier. I can't get no satisfaction? That whole phrase? There's a lot more to it than that than just a simple lyric. This is another defining trait for Goku and Vegeta. They are both driven to realize their full potential. To paraphrase Maslov's own words, what a Saiyan can be, he must be. To be fair, after years of watching the likes of Goku and Vegeta develop, you could easily say that their needs are basically the pyramid just turned upside down. After all, self-actualization is everything to them. And we have seen many times throughout Dragon Ball, them sacrificing the lower levels of their own needs and desires to achieve the bigger goals. Which ultimately means that the whole Maslov theory of human motivation, it does apply, and it does give us some really good identities and motivations about what makes a Saiyan tick, but at the same time, it's also kind of flawed because it's a little too positive. And as we know about Saiyans, they're not exactly positive. Sometimes it's a little hard to come up with the more troublesome situations and really blend it in together with Saiyans, and sometimes the situations are a little too perfect, if you know what I mean. It does show how humans and Saiyans differ and how hybrids can blend together and come up with something that would work with Maslov's theory perfectly. But Goku and Vegeta, in a way, with their whole idea about human immersion, it kind of brings them a little closer. But for Saiyans that don't have that luxury, it depends. We can still apply Maslow's traits to Saiyans, only with the lack of having needs of safety. In time, Maslow added another level to his pyramid, higher than self-actualization, and that is self-transcendence. But that topic is going to be for another video, because that's quite a biggie. So what do you guys think? Do you think this all checks out? Do you think Saiyans can move beyond the idea of pride and just pure fighting? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!